What's up, y'all boys? We're back here with another episode of the Loyal Sons Forever True podcast, and it's episode 6.
I'm Aiden Gilmore, and this is Carson Hansen.
You'd say.
You would say. Oh, you know.
And we're going to be talking a little bit about the quiet life and how living a quiet life is very important and how it can really propel your relationship with Christ. So we're going to first go through 1 Thessalonians 4, 11, and 12. We're just going to go over the first verse to kind of summarize what we're going to be talking about.
Do you got the NLT? Or you? I'll say it.
Okay.
The NLT version sounds the best we found. Make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands, just as we instructed you before. Then people who are not believers will respect the way you live, and you will not need to depend on others. So let's talk about that. Like Carson stated, right? Jesus was a carpenter.
Well, I haven't.
Or but we were talking about that. Jesus lived a quiet life.
Yeah.
And the people who are not believers will respect the way you live. If you are working with your hands, you're obeying Christ. They'll see how confident you are in something that you don't even see. They'll see how you're minding your own business. You're trying to be successful in your own work, and you're praising someone. You're praising Jesus, and that's kind of a really respectable life. Like, is it not? Like, if you see someone who is just super dialed into what they're doing, they work really hard. Like, even with football, like if you see a coach, if you see a player doing that, you're just like, wow, like I really respect that because that's like hard to do.
Yeah.
Especially with like no distractions and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the distractions around you, it's hard to do.
Yeah. I think a lot of people respect people that have a purpose-driven life, and that's something like, as a believer, that should be, something that people see out of you. Like, you're living this quiet life, and like, what your purpose is, and you should be like hardwired to be doing that.
Yeah.
And just like being consistent in that quiet life. I'm going to take time to have my relationship with God. Like, I'm going to take my time and just like live that quiet life where a lot of the time in the world now, there's no such thing as a quiet life because technology, everything has just become like crazy. So it's hard. It's harder nowadays to live a quiet life, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Now, what is a quiet life? In my opinion, a quiet life is, someone who is not like, their main goal is not to be like super famous. And I think that's a lot of kids' dreams nowadays, is to be super famous, be on top of the world, be super rich. When really it's about being like rich in love. It's about being rich in, Christ and, knowing him and knowing your family and being there for your family and being there for God. Like, that's what I mean by rich in love, because you're just like filled with everything around you that you love, right? And technically you can't really like love money, because money doesn't really bring you happiness. It might bring you a little bit of joy for maybe a little moment, but it won't bring you like joy as in your soul. Like, your soul will not be filled with joy forever. And, only love of God can do that. And so when you fill your life with a quiet life and, full of love, I think that's kind of what a quiet life is. And I think it's kind of awesome how it says minding your own business and working with your hands, because a lot of people, they sit behind a screen these days and they're just typing and typing away. And, I'm not judging anyone that's like that, because like with this new world, we really need that. You know what I mean? Because, we need someone behind a screen kind of helping us. Like, there's someone over here that is behind a screen that, helps us get the mics set up and the headphones set up. So we need those people, but it's kind of awesome that you're minding your own business. You're keep making it your goal to live a quiet life, and you're a hard worker. I think that's what more it means as working with your hands. It's not technically like you're digging the dirt and you're handcrafting a home. It's more talking about like you're a hard worker. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's just building things. I think it's just being a hard worker, and that will build things for generations. Just being a hard worker, and it'll people under you will see that you're a hard worker. And that's what it means also when it says people who are not believers will respect the way you live. It'll build things under you that you won't even see.
Yeah. I got this. I was thinking about when you were saying people, when you worship Christ. I think so. Human beings are people that like have to worship something.
Yeah.
We have to worship something no matter what it is. It's just in our nature that we have to worship something. If you go back to the Old Testament scriptures, most of the time they weren't worshiping the Almighty God.
Mm-mm.
Most of the time it was some kind of idol that was maybe handcrafted, whatever it was. But I would just say it can be very easy to worship things in our life, just like back in those days where they made an idol. Like, you don't even have to make the idol. Like, you don't have to handcraft anything. It's just the amount of time. If you're consistently spending days on days and you're just putting all your eggs into that basket, you're worshiping that.
And what would you say is the number one thing that people worship nowadays?
Your phone.
Or money.
Money, your phone. I think I would just say like the vast majority, because even kids and adults, your phone. Yeah. Like, I think your phone is the biggest thing because, I mean, just like look at your screen time. Yeah. The amount of time that you're just staring at a screen, and most of the time it's not, I'm on the Bible app or I'm wanting to learn more about Christ. Most of the time it's just like, I've had a long day, I just want some entertainment. I just want to just like chill out. But like, if you're not careful, it can turn into an idol.
Yeah. And you can't worship two things either. You can't worship God and money. You can't worship God and phone, or YouTube videos or whatever you do that like takes solely a ton of your time. Yeah. And you just can't worship both things.
Yeah. I think just from like our perspective, being football players, a big thing for us is all the work that we're doing. We have to be like, this work that we're doing it for the glory of God. We're not doing it for ourselves. We're not idolizing ourselves. We're doing it for Him. And we're just doing work as if it is for Christ. I forget what verse that is, like 1 Corinthians something. Or Colossians something. But I think it's somewhere in Colossians. But like, doing your work like you're doing it for the Lord, and that's something that is really powerful too.
Yeah. I guess that's one plus of being a lineman. Like, we don't score touchdowns. We don't have any stats. Like, there's no glory for us. So we can kind of like, put no eyes on us and kind of put all eyes on Him. It might be a little bit easier, but it is easy to, like, let's say you're like a lineman or anybody and you're a draft prospect. It's easy to look at all these things on Twitter, like, oh, I scored these touchdowns, like, oh, look at my stats, or, ooh, like, I might get drafted, like, look at me, look what I did. Like, really, did you do that? Yeah. Like, did you do that? Like, it was probably God's will. Yeah. If we're being honest.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to go a little bit into kind of when Jesus in the Gospels, when He was with His disciples, and then He kind of stepped away from them and was like, I need time to talk to the Father. And that, I think, is a huge thing about living a quiet life. Whether it was back then or right now, you always have to take time to step away from your distractions, everything that's, taking up all your attention, and just like praying and seeking the Father. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Like, I mean, if Jesus had to do it, like, we have to do it way more than, like,
yeah, because He was perfect. We're not. Like, we need to kind of do so much more, because also we have a longer lifespan than He did. And look how much He accomplished in 33 years. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. And so, like, what do we have to do to follow Him? And, like, like living a quiet life, I think is kind of huge, right? You know, number one, he was a carpenter. Number two, what you just said, he went away from his distractions, his friends, and your friends can even be distractions too. Like if you're spending too much time with your friends or, you know, with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and you kind of can't have time to spend time in the spirit with God and with Christ, then that's technically a distraction from your main goal. And your main goal, if your main goal is trying to get closer to Christ, all these things around you are distractions. And the crazy thing is, like, nowadays, there's things called iPad kids. iPad kids. Like, are you kidding me? Like, people have this identity for kids who are on their iPad all the time called iPad kids. Like, that's their identity to those people. Like, that's sad. There might be like people in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and like, oh, those are Christian kids. Like, look at them. They're reading their Bible. Oh, look at them. They're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nowadays, all you see is iPad kids wherever you go. Like, you're on a plane, these kids are like, they're locked in to like Bob the Builder. Like, what is the point? Like, as parents, we should be like trying to do activities with them.
We should be. Are you a parent?
Oh, no, I'm not a parent, but I'm saying like as humans, you know what I mean? Like teaching others, right? But like, of course, I understand like with technology these days, like your kids can, of course, like play games on their iPad and watch phones or like watch like movies and stuff and shows. But like to have a sole identity to where like they're always on their iPad or something, like that's your way of parenting, like that's kind of crazy. And that's like a crazy distraction, right? So those kids, like I pray for those kids, and I hope those kids grow up to be to learn how to like walk in the faith and, you know, not be distracted by like TV shows and your phone and social media and that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope they do.
Yeah. I was thinking about like I feel like our phones, like if say we substituted the Bible, how many times we opened our phone a day, how many times we opened our Bible?
Yeah,
like
I would say like my average for opening the Bible might be like 2 times.
Oh yeah. I mean, just put it in your backpack. Like that's something that I've kind of been thinking about, just like put it in your backpack.
I have had it in my backpack and I just took it out because it was pretty heavy.
Yeah. Well,
to be honest with you, I was walking around class like, all right, bro, I'll just put it in my locker. So I have a backpack in the locker. I mean, I have a Bible in the locker room and at home.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea, but it's like the Word of God, like nothing compares to it. I mean, I was thinking of this idea, well, not this idea, but this video I saw, like this little, like, I think it might have been like a reel or something, but it was like these kids it was somewhere, I think it was either China or something like that, where it's like illegal to be a Christian. Like you're persecuted, you're thrown in jail, you know, whatever it is. It's illegal to be a Christian in that country. And they had a suitcase. They brought in a suitcase into this room, and there was a bunch of people in this room, and they opened it up, and there was like a bunch of Bibles in there. And kids like took them, adults took them, and they were like hugging them. They were, you know, they were just cherishing them because they were like, they knew like this is the Word of God. This is the most important thing like
in life. Like you can learn straight from God. Like I think we take a lot of things for granted, you know what I mean? Because, you know, in a country like that where, you know, you're persecuted for being Christian, that sucks.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes we don't understand how blessed we are to be in this country too. And I know I hear a ton of people saying like, you don't know how good you have it. Like you have a roof over your head, clothes to wear, food to eat. But really, we should be thinking about like how blessed are we that we have a Bible on our phones. We can carry that anywhere. How blessed are we that we have a Bible in our room? And if you don't have any money to buy a Bible and you're watching this right now, I will go get you one. Please tell me if you need one. I will go get you one.
Yeah. So I don't know how we got here, but
distractions.
Yeah, I guess a quiet life, avoiding distractions. Yeah. So just if you got a Bible, just go dust it off today.
Yeah.
Just open it up. Just start reading it. Start in the Gospels. I would say start in the Gospels if you've never read the Bible before. Good place to start to know who Jesus is, to know his character. And then from there, you can just start reading other places in the Bible. But
what else did Jesus do to live a quiet life, do you think? So he spent time with the Father. He fasted a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I think that fasting, we should really start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, I just saw an article that it, helps possibly cure cancer if you fast for a large amount of time from food, because it gets a lot of dead body cells out. But like Jesus fasted a lot, and he taught that. There was a verse in Matthew. He says where my followers will fast. So he kind of thinks that, his followers will fast, and like, what are we fasting from, and how does it lead us closer to God? Like, that's kind of what he's like stating at. And how it does is, well, you can get rid of distractions. So like, let's say I'm going to fast from TV. That's always a good start. Or I'm going to fast from being on my phone for a certain amount of time. Or I'm going to fast from eating candy all the time. Or I'm going to fast from just certain things, and that can help you become closer to God, because instead of following your distractions through, just your daily life, you can fast from those distractions, which will help you. Instead of doing that certain thing, maybe you can replace it with reading the Bible or praying or getting closer to God. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would say fasting is like a great thing. It was actually my girlfriend's dad. We were talking about fasting, and he said, when you're fasting, if you ever like want to, either if it's you're fasting from your phone, you want to go on your phone, or you're fasting from some type of food or whatever it is, when you want to do that, instead of doing that, like saying like, no, God, your will is better, and like getting into prayer in that time, because like then you're denying your flesh.
Yeah.
And you're like saying, no, God, you are more than able, and I'm trusting in you. I'm trusting in you, and like not myself, of me just saying no, but like praying and saying, God, like just give me the strength to be like, I don't need this, and you are so much better than that. So,
I feel like that's always a good thing to do, is something that you don't want to do. Like, you don't want to wake up and go to work, or you don't want to wake up and go work out. I feel like that's always good for your brain and your soul, just to go do something that you don't want to do, because it starts off your day with something that's hard. And, maybe that will lead to an easier day or whatever. But also it makes you kind of feel more grateful for your life. I feel like when I do like hard things, like right away in the morning. But yeah, like if praying like immediately when you wake up is hard to do, then maybe you should start doing that.
yeah.
But yeah, I just think what you said is great.
I'm not the best like morning person. Like I'm not the best at praying, reading in the morning. I'm more of like,
I like it at night.
Midday, night type.
I like it at night.
Yeah. But I don't know, it's different for people. Like people have different, times when they do stuff, and that's, whatever works best for you. But what's our random thing?
Our random thing for the day. Man. I don't know. Do you have one?
No.
Well, let me think of one real quick. What's the best TV show ever made?
The best,
like your
TV.
favorite. It doesn't have to be like what you think everyone else's is the best, but like your favorite. Like, give me a top 3.
I honestly like don't watch enough TV shows. I'll say my favorite.
All right, what's your favorite?
And I think you know what it is.
The Office.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have like a top 3 movies?
There's just so many movies that I don't know.
Top 3, like you don't know what your top 3 is.
I don't know if this is top 3, but the movie that I watched like a couple weeks ago was Shutter Island.
Didn't I tell you about that? Didn't I tell you about that?
That was a good movie.
Okay, so who has a better movie taste? Me.
I mean,
so
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you more to watch. All right. Like anything with Leonardo is crazy,
Yeah.
like crazy. Shutter Island was very good, but that doesn't even make my top 10. I rewatched Memento. That was kind of mind-boggling. Like I couldn't even handle it. What else is like a good like mind bender movie? Like
Well, we watched. It was it was like a month and a half ago. We watched Inception or something.
oh yeah. That's a really good one. And you kind of tweaked out. This dude was sleeping, and
Well,
like
I was okay. So here's the thing. I was watching the movie, and it's like, it's crazy because they go to sleep in the movie. They dream dreams, and like, it's just kind of crazy. And then they go into different dreams, and like they can go into like, okay.
and
So
this dude
and
was
I was like sleeping, like I was going in and out of sleep. So I felt like I was like dreaming like the movie, and then waking up, and then dreaming again, and then waking up. It was kind of scary, to be honest, but
That's funny. I gotta say, like one of the best movies I've ever seen. Man, that's a tough one. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Have you seen that?
no.
It's not really a mind bender, but it's just like a beautiful film.
I'm not as much of a movie TV show guy. I'm kind of weird. I'm more of like a YouTube, like whenever I have a little bit of time. Like we were talking about distractions, so it's kind
Yeah.
of weird that we're talking about it now. But like if I have like a little bit of time, like you don't want to watch it like a
But
lot.
it's good to have time to yourself.
Oh
you know?
yeah, there's got to be a little bit of time where you can enjoy like your life a little bit. Like you can just like like to do hobbies and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Watching YouTube, I like doing that more than TV shows. And
I will
movies.
tell you, the movie's not that long, but you should go home and watch The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Like it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Nah,
That's my
I
suggestion.
gotta wake up at 5 a.m.
That's my suggestion to all of you out there. If you haven't seen The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah,
And that is episode
That's
6.
episode 6.
All right. Maybe we should do a little overview of what we talked about. So, live a quiet life. I think that it's important to be humble in what you do and who you are. Be a hard worker. Work for Christ, not yourself. And live like Jesus did.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best example of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.
See you guys later.